Hey there, so today we have another beer talk, and this is about a new article that VinePair just posted, and it is the Mount Rushmore of IPAs. So VinePair asked four industry experts about their picks of four of the Mount Rushmore of IPAs, and how I define that is like, the most famous picks. Definitely not the like personal picks. I would just pick like the most influential, most famous, blah, 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 despite my opinions about how the beers taste. So included involve Mandy, Mandy Naglic, who has taken a Master Cicerone exam multiple times, Advanced Cicerone as well. Aaron Goldfarb, famous beer writer. You also have Mitch Steele, who literally wrote the book on IPA from formerly of Stone and of New Realm now. You also have the owners of Talea on there. So anyway, let's go through. Let me think. What's the best way to do this? All right, let's go. Let's go through the top picks that they have. So, the only beers that got 4 votes each were Pliny Elder and Heady Topper. Then you go 3 votes each, and that's Sierra Nevada Celebration and Trias Julius. And then the twos, like 2 votes, go to Sculpin, Blind Pig, Two Hearted, and Headhunter. Now you're gonna get my Mount Rushmore of IPAs. So, strangely enough, I agree with the top 4. So it has to go history-wise. Sierra Nevada Celebration, the largest true craft brewery that still exists today. Pretty much like one of the original IPAs ever made. Well, at least American IPAs ever made. Ballantine IPA is on that list. There's probably, you can argue like Anchor Liberty, blah, blah. But this beer still made. Such a classic flavor too. It's so great that this beer is still made every year. And such a unique IPA. It's pretty much like a red IPA or somewhere between amber ale and IPA, but still such a delicious beer, and just like well liked, famous, revered, just like, right, like history. Right? It's a George Washington of IPAs. Like, how do you not pick it, right? So there you go. Number 2, the analogy is pretty good. It has to go to Russian River Pliny the Elder. That's like your Abraham Lincoln, right? That is the original double IPA. The recipes have been around for about 30 years now. Still made, still highly revered, and actually is still somewhat relevant to what West Coast double IPA tastes these days. Granted, the new 2.0 West Coast IPA is a whole different animal, but what we consider, a lot of people consider West Coast IPAs comes from that beer. The original recipe for double IPA, and it's still highly regarded beer and still absolutely amazing. And when I got into craft beer, it was actually number 1 rated beer on Beer Advocate, and then got overtaken by my next pick, which would be Alchemist Heady Topper. So this is I would definitely argue a contested one, because everybody would argue. I think everybody's first sentence is like, well, why is Heady Topper on the list? They would argue because Heady, New England IPA came from Heady Topper. All right, you're wrong. I've done a video about this, and I probably gonna do a whole video talking about this more. But the quick short is that Alchemist Heady Topper is not a hazy IPA. It is not a New England IPA. It's vastly different. It is its own kind of animal. It's actually more of like a dank West Coast meets East Coast New England kind of thing. It's a very unique kind of beer. In my mind, Heady Topper is sort of its own kind of animal. It's almost like sea urchin or caviar or truffles, right? Like if someone's had never had, either of those, you'd be like, oh, well, how do I describe it to you? Like it's a hard thing to. It's its own kind of thing. That's what Heady Topper, like, I can't describe. Like, I can't tell you a beer on the shelf and go like, all right, that's like Heady Topper, right? That's what Heady Topper is. But why do I pick it on this? Well, obviously it's so famous. Like, it's so, and that's really the reason. I think the importance of Heady Topper is that it's part of the movement of 16-ounce cans and tall boys and blah blah. It's iconic, blah blah. The black and silver can, but also like the idea of like hype IPA sort of blew up with Heady Topper, and Heady Topper is so influential for that reason. The idea of trading for IPA and seeking IPA, going to Vermont for IPA, right? Like this idea of like beer tourism and hype and this and that. Like Heady Topper really was part of that and forefront of that. So super influential beer, just for the fact that existed, not because the DNA of that beer sort of made for other beers. Again, you guys go on the market. There's almost no beers that taste like Heady Topper. It's its own kind of unique kind of animal, in my opinion. So, and then number 4, you got to do a hazy IPA. To not put a hazy IPA is just you just ignore we're in a cryo machine and just slept on what happened in craft beer in the last decade, right? Um, since like 20, I want to say something like 2012, and the decade after that's 2022. We went from somewhere like 1,500 breweries to 9,000 breweries. And that explosion in craft beer does not happen without hazy IPA. I don't care what you want to say. You can hate hazy IPA. You can this. I don't care. Hazy IPA is very much part of that explosion in craft beer, and obviously now it's just like the vernacular of craft beer. You go to the store, hazy this, New England that, hazy this, hazy that, right? Like and you have to put one on there. So which one are you gonna put? You can argue Heady Topper. I'm gonna say you're wrong. So you gotta put Treehouse Julius. Treehouse Julius is very much has that DNA that now of what we think of hazy IPA. Argue, granted, very different. There are breweries doing all this kind of different stuff, and the new age hazy IPA is definitely different. And there's these large regional hazy IPAs that are different. But Treehouse Julius is my pick because you can pick breweries like Hill Farmstead, Lost and Finest. Around Treehouse would be like something like Trillium, and then right after that, a little bit would be like Other Half. But I think Treehouse Julius is a great pick to sort of show like the evolution of craft beer and of IPA. And so you get Celebration, Heady Topper, Celebration, Pliny Elder, Heady Topper, and then Julius. And then there has to be an honorable mention, in my opinion, and that goes to Fathead's Headhunter. You guys have heard the spiel before. Wins all the blind awards. If you literally go on the list and go through all the, granted a lot of these beers don't get submitted to World Beer Cup and GABF, but if you combine all the awards that all these IPAs on that Vine Pair article mention and add a bunch of other IPAs, you still will not get as many medals as Fathead's Headhunter. It's been winning again awards since a decade ago, and last year won back to back, which is insane at World Beer Cup and JBF. Again, it's one thing to win for like alt beer or Weizenbach, but to win the most competitive category is insane, and it's just that good of a beer. And Mitch still agrees with me, so he put that on the list. So cool. That's my list. So honorable mention, but it's 4. And I agree with the consensus. Those are the most famous and influential IPAs in my opinion. There you go. Cheers. Let me know what you think later. What's your list? What's your Mount Rushmore of IPAs later?